The OC's Summer Roberts began the show as a stereotypical mean rich girl ditz. She wasn't even a part of the main cast, but instead just intended to be a glorified extra, a friend of Marissa Cooper's with minimal impact, to be essentially forgotten after the pilot.
She know? Ew.
But even with the minimal screen time she got in the beginning, she quickly became a fan favorite and an integral part of the show. And over time, as her character was given room to grow, she broke free from those mean girl confines and ended up getting one of the best arcs of the show.
Apparently, I have a lot of what they call aptitude.
Really?
Summer is the perfect showcase of what can happen when a smart girl doesn't have that side of herself fostered by her environment, but is instead pushed in the total opposite direction. She's also a very underrated example of how we don't have to be trapped in the boxes we're put in as kids forever, and how learning to embrace our full selves can help us build a life even better than we could have ever dreamed of.
You're a great girl, and the world deserves to know you. You deserve it too.
So let's take a closer look at how Summer evolved from a miserable mean girl into a successful smart girl. When we're first introduced to Summer, she seems in essentially every way to be the archetypal spoiled, superficial rich girl.
What? Ew, who are you?
She doesn't seem that bright or kind, and her only concerns revolve around boys, clothes, and partying. She sees herself as above nerds like Seth and not rich people like Ryan, and she doesn't even seem to be a great friend to the people who are in her circle. Near the end of the pilot, we see her drop a blacked out Marissa off in her driveway. But even in the few lines she did get, actress Rachel Bilson really hit the comedic notes in a way that drew people into this character they might otherwise hate. Over the first few episodes of season 1, Summer was slowly given more to do, and we got to see more facets of her personality begin to shine through.
But Rachel, I
But you
feel
did
like
it so well.
You brought your personality to the character.
Shut up.
Importantly, however, once they decided to bring Summer into the main cast, they didn't erase all of her more negative traits to try to make her immediately more likable.
Thanks for almost getting my bathing suit wet, Cohen.
My pleasure.
Cohen. Can't believe that you did that, Cohen.
Instead, in tandem with showing us her softer side in smaller moments, the show also began to do the work of digging into why Summer behaved the way she did. Next to Marissa's myriad of issues, Summer's problems might seem to pale in comparison, but she actually has a lot going on underneath the surface. Her mean girl behavior does stem from some deep inner rage a la Regina George, though Summer isn't without her own anger issues, of course.
I suffer from rage blackouts.
Instead, Summer's main issue stems from a fracture of her sense of self, brought on by the world around her, constantly pushing her away from the direction in which she's naturally inclined. Instead of following her own interests and desires, she instead was made to feel that she had to work to carve out a very specific niche within the high school hierarchy, where she could keep herself safe and feeling like she had some level of control over her life and surroundings. Leaning into this also meant that she wouldn't have to let people in behind the walls she built up, because no one expects too much from the mean popular girl. The break between Summer's inner smart girl and outward mean hottie persona certainly caused her a lot of problems. Many of the more annoying aspects of her personality were also, however, a result of the fact that she's a teenager. As we discussed in our video on Seth Cohen, the fact that these characters are played by grown adults can make it easy to forget that they are in fact supposed to be teens. Young people who are trying to figure out themselves and the world for the first time.
This is a nightmare. I'm sweating to death driving 10 miles an hour. I'm like a rickshaw listening to this music.
Hey, do not insult Death Cat.
While she wasn't initially meant to stick around, in the end, Summer brought some very important balance to the core four. She evened out the main group so that there could be genuine platonic friendships, Seth and Marissa and Summer and Ryan, instead of the core group always being stuck in some sort of love triangle.
Ryan, come on, take a deep breath. Just let me do what I do best.
Which is what?
Giving orders.
She was also, despite what her behavior in the pilot might suggest, a good friend and a nice leveler for Marissa's more intense, dramatic nature.
About my best friend.
Princess Sparkle is freaking out?
Marissa, dumbass.
Oh, I always get those two confused. They have really shiny hair.
Summer was always there as a shoulder to cry on, but she was also willing and able to dole out some tough love when needed.
Well, you can't go to the bonfire with Ryan. Then go home to Alex. You can't ride two horses with one ass. It's a proverb.
She's also always willing to stand up for herself, and she fiercely defends her friends. Though instead of taking a page out of the Ryan Atwood School of Punching Everyone playbook, Summer usually opts for verbal sparring.
Just because you're saying really mean things in like a really nice voice doesn't mean that we don't realize that you're just some stupid little skank.
But of course, it's Summer's relationship with Seth that throws her for a loop, shaking up her idea of who she is and who she can be. Initially, Seth and Summer essentially represent everything the other claims to hate. Seth, the sarcastic, nerdy loser, Summer, the stuck-up, materialistic, popular girl. But the fact that these opposites are so attracted to each other is an early signifier that they both have more going on than might initially meet the eye, for better and worse. Their on-again, off-again, on-again, off-again, on-again relationship is pretty par for the course for teen dramas, but the show allows it to reveal deeper aspects of the characters as well. Seth comes from a household with loving and mostly stable parents. Though he certainly has his own plethora of insecurities, he's always deep down felt secure in the fact that the people around him will love him despite his faults and mistakes, because his family always has. Summer, on the other hand, never had that level of familial stability. Her mother is gone, and while she and her father were quite close, he was often more interested in his work and his new wife. Summer had come to feel that relationships were transactional and destined to fail. She goes into them assuming there's already a timer ticking down to their end.
You're just gonna get bored with me because pretty much all boys do.
All of this, combined with Seth and Summer's other insecurities and peculiarities, lead to a lot of strife within their relationship. They are two teens who don't yet know quite who they are or what they want out of their lives, a relationship, or anything else.
Oh my god. Okay, we cannot be more annoying than Ryan and Marissa. We're monsters.
Seth's self-centeredness and belief that while Summer might be above him in the high school hierarchy, he was in some innate way better than her, and Summer's feeling that a girl like her should never want to date a guy like him leads to a constant background noise within their relationship, so it never feels truly steady.
You know, it seems that you only want me when you can't have me. You like the chase, and that's all. So you know what? You can have it.
But as much as they might bicker and break up, it's clear that they do have a deeper connection that they both feel driven to hold on to.
Because the whole reason that we broke up is because for me, it's always been you, Summer. It's always been you.
While they may be different in many superficial ways, they come to find they are actually more on the same page than they ever would have imagined. Though Summer keeps up her cool, popular girl facade, she, like Seth, hasn't yet given up all of her youth and whimsy.
Who is this?
No one?
I'm not no one.
Princess Sparkle, what do you want?
I think she's just Captain Oath's type.
She also isn't as grown as she puts on. When the pair first sleep together, it's an all-around terrible experience. Seth is insecure that he won't live up to all the guys she's been with before, but she's insecure because she feels like she has to live up to a lie. It turns out that Summer and Seth had one major milestone in common after all.
You weren't the only virgin in the room.
There's someone else in the room? Like filming us?
Me, jackass.
In a lesson they both learn again and again, they're both happier in their relationship when they stop trying to live up to the ideas they have about who they're supposed to be and instead are just honest with each other.
Hey, you just punched me. My baby's back.
While Summer might have started out as the show's ditz, as she's given room to grow and tackle her insecurities, she comes to a surprising realization.
It turns out that I am totally smart.
Yeah, you are in your own way.
Not in my own way, in your way too.
With the help of a counselor, she comes to realize that she isn't actually dumb at all. That ditzy persona was just the result of a number of external pressures. She wasn't playing dumb, that is, deliberately pretending to be less intelligent, but instead had genuinely come to believe that she was dumb because everyone around her had told her she was for so long that she internalized it. Girls' intelligence has long been downplayed, and in this early 2000s era, the idea of types was particularly rife. The smart girl versus hot girl dichotomy was very rigid, as we can see when Summer and more stereotypical smart girls like Anna and Taylor feel immediately at odds with one another.
Are you even making fun of me? Because I can't tell.
Oh, most of the time, Summer, you do my job for me.
Again, not tracking.
There was an assumption that it was an either-or thing. You couldn't be hot and smart, even though they all were. Because of the world she was brought up in and the society she was attempting to try to fit into, Summer's mind was filled with the idea that to be a successful girl meant to be beautiful and desired by boys, and so that's where she focused her attention. She worked to cover up her insecurities with clothes and makeup and a mean attitude, all in the hopes of carving out a sense of security for herself. Because everyone else around her told her that she wasn't a smart girl from such a young age, she never even really saw that as an option. The truth is that Summer always had many typical smart girl traits. She overthinks everything, is highly competitive, is often the one to come up with a plan while everyone else sits around wondering what to do. She goes after what she wants, and even underneath all of those insecurities, Summer does have that very important foundation of belief in herself. And once she begins freeing herself from the cage of the popular girl, she realizes that she does in fact have those book smarts too. Coming to accept these sides of herself also allows her to connect with other women who have personalities that might lead them to not always be seen in the best light. While Summer and Taylor are initially enemies, they eventually both come to realize that much of their clashing comes from their attempts to hide their deepest insecurities and end up becoming best friends. When Marissa's mom, Julie Cooper, begins dating Summer's dad, Summer is unsurprisingly not at all happy about it. Julie is also someone who has had to do a lot of work to secure the life she has, and who hides her feelings of inadequacy and fear behind a biting personality. They eventually become very important pillars of support for one another, especially after Marissa's death. After opening herself up to the new possibilities of who she could be, Summer put in the work, got the grades, and got into Brown. Summer's burgeoning smart girl era was a simmering issue in her relationship with Seth, and her getting into Brown, when he did, causes things to boil over. Seth is on one level upset because deep down he feels like he is supposed to be the smart one in the relationship. But once their paths look to be diverging, he also begins to worry that being with him might hold her back from her full potential. A big part of Summer's growth is learning to stand strong in this idea of herself as an intelligent, capable person, and a big part of Seth's is coming to accept this version of her.
I just want to give you room to keep doing what you're doing, because I think it's pretty amazing. So if you don't hear from me for a while, it's not because I don't love you. It's because I do.
Going to university on the other side of the country and being totally removed from that world that had molded her into mean girl Summer from the pilot allows Summer to tap into even more facets of herself that she had previously tried to smother. She lets go of her materialism and becomes devoted to environmentalism and activism. She had always cared for animals.
Every day of third grade, you shared your lunch with that little skinny squirrel who kept getting his nuts stolen by that fat squirrel.
I hated that mean squirrel.
But as she got older, she shifted her focus to things that would make her seem cooler so that she could fit in. Being free from these confines of Newport society means that she's able to nurture these aspects of herself that she had hidden, and in the end, she realized that those are in fact the things she wants to orient her entire life around. This is confirmed for her during her brief stint back in the OC during a suspension from university for freeing some rabbits. She realizes that she doesn't really fit into this world anymore and decides she wants to go out and explore and find where this new, secure Summer does fit. While the show could have nerfed all of Summer's growth in order to return her to the old Summer in order to keep OTP, Seth, and Summer together, thankfully they decided to go another way. She doesn't give up her dream to stay with Seth. She heads off to attend protests, do environmental work, and educate students with the Global Environmental Organization regarding greenhouse emissions.
Go save the world, Summer Roberts.
And in the end, they do walk down the aisle as the secure, caring people they've grown to be. While some at the time marked Summer's turn from OC Barbie to environmental warrior as either unrealistic or dumb, in reality, she was a precursor to a trend that's much more generally accepted now, that you can care about the world and look cute doing it. It's also actually nice to see a character that grows and changes in the way people so often do in their teenage years. Most people aren't the same person when they graduate college as they were freshman year of high school. However much many teen shows might like to keep their characters trapped in whatever tropes they started in. Summer was always a kind, smart girl. She was just also a lost kid who had to work hard to find her way.
We can accept the fact that we can't worry about what we can't control and just enjoy the time that we have.
That's the take. Click here to watch a video we think you'll love, or here to check out a whole playlist of awesome content. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications. And make sure to subscribe to our Patreon for exclusive new videos.